All right, welcome back to the channel, everyone. It's a big day today. I saw Mitt got to meet Carp. That's pretty awesome. Congrats, guys. And we also had the release of, finally, I've been asking for it for years, public release of Foundry. We've got the first public signups in the books. I do know that they closed registration today. I think they're just going to do this in cohorts as they slowly roll it out to everyone. Mainly just probably to work out any kinks that are in the system, make sure all their stuff is humming along. But I imagine they'll be opening up for registration to the next cohort any day now. So I'll post an update on Twitter, X, as soon as I hear that registration's back open. In the interim, I wanted to walk you through my stack. This is the homepage. You can see there's the build with AIP. This thing is so cool, by the way. Like, I did a bunch of document extraction today using the starter kits that are in here. As you can see, it comes with like a bunch of starter kit apps. You can see I've installed some of these already. I like the semantic search one. It's really easy to get started with. It's also something that everyone's demoing. So you'll see a semantic search demo from every company, but what really stands out with AIP and Palantir is just how easy this is. Anyone can do it. And you'll notice here you can install this. So when you hit the install button, it's just going to add the project to your stack, and it comes with a bunch of really cool stuff you'll see in a second, including a sample app you can run, all the data processing pipelines, sample data. You also get an overview of everything that comes with the use case and the solution architecture, so you know what you're getting yourself into when you install it. Very easy to navigate, very easy to use. Frictionless, so when I installed it, it just worked. I will walk you through an install where I had a problem, and I'll show you how support works in the stack too, because I feel like Palantir's done a very good job of adding support for people. So if we go and just take a look at where this got installed, we can look at the artifacts real quickly. We can check out the semantic search project. You can see, like, in here I've got all of the artifacts from the installation. The first thing I'm going to jump into is the demo, and what this does is it just gives you an idea of how this thing works. And every one of these AIP solutions comes with a demo, and it gives you it basically gives you a step-by-step guide as to how this is working, along with links to the documentation. You can also watch a video about building semantic search workflows, and you can try the app out, which is cool, right? Like, I actually think this is awesome, the fact that I can just like try this out, directly in here as well. So really cool. If you want to edit this boilerplate app, you can come in here and just hit edit. But in a second, we're going to go and just make a few changes. I'm going to attempt to bring in Palantir's latest 10Q just to kind of walk you through how easy it is to parse PDFs and generate embeddings and do a semantic search workflow. That's it on the overview. Let's just dive into the pipeline here. All right, so we are just checking out Pipeline Builder. Pipeline Builder is the visual data transformation tool in Foundry. It's very similar to Ultrix. It's primarily used by non-programmers, people who are analysts, often the case, or people work in Excel a lot. If you know concepts from SQL, you're going to feel right at home in here. These visual transformations are done in transform steps. In this first one here, all that's happening is we're converting this into a format using this transform here for convert media set table rows. And what that's going to do is just automatically parsing this into a format we can work with it. And then further down the road, you're going to see we have this next transform, and it's doing quite a bit more. You can see there's an explanation of what the transform is doing. There's inline documentation. You can also generate that documentation using LLMs, by the way, which is also a really cool feature of Pipeline Builder. But you can see within each card, like, look how cool this is. We have built-in OCR. I love this feature. I used this quite a bit today. Most PDFs, it seems like they always come in pretty poor kind of format, and so using this OCR extraction is super powerful. You can see there's a couple different OCR output formats, and you can select the language that you're outputting for. And then you'll get a data set after first we do the raw extraction. Then what's going to happen is we got to explode the array. So like the extraction happens into a single row, and then that gets into one large array, and that gets exploded out into a whole bunch of rows. And then we get, at the end of the day, we get a data set that basically looks like this. What does this last one do? Oh yeah, and this, after we explode out that array, we're going to add some column numbers for page number in the extracted text, and that just adds like a structure, and you can see that we then get those page number and extracted text columns in our output data set. Very powerful if you've ever had to do this kind of more manually or in code. I guess you could appreciate how boilerplate this is, and like how easy it is for the average user to just come in now and like, oh, I can parse PDFs. Like, really cool. I don't need to be a software engineer to necessarily do that. And that's always been my main, the thing I love the most about Foundry is that it puts really powerful technology into the hands of non-software engineers, because there just aren't enough software engineers, and it'd be better if we focus the software engineers on more high-value software engineering problems rather than redundant data processing tasks. Plus, they're not close enough often to the goals, the business goals of a lot of these things to manage communication effectively. And so, like, if you can just have the person trying to build the output who's responsible for the business value delivery put this tool in their hands, my opinion, it's like a step change in how we kind of do things. So anyway, this is Pipeline Builder. This is the default for semantic search. You'll see there's a couple more transform steps here, and then it gets to this embedding step, which is also really cool. There's a built-in text to embedding function in Pipeline Builder. You just select this as a transform. You then select the column that's holding your text, and out come your embeddings. And they're using OpenAI's text-out-of-2 embedding model. And you'll see that here we get our embeddings. There's all those beautiful numbers, right? And so, again, extremely easy. If you kind of just look at all the other semantic search examples, what you're going to see is these are all done in code. And a lot of times they don't use, they will use OpenAI's embedding model quite a bit. I think it's probably the most popular, but in a lot of cases they will also use, when you see these demos, their own models. You can absolutely do that in Foundry as well. I don't know how you do it in Pipeline Builder. You'd probably have to build your own transform in Java and then distribute it to Pipeline Builder. But I do know how to use other embedding models in code authoring. And we often do that because you can get better performance in platform if you're not doing an API call. Also important to note, all these models are hosted in platform. They're private. You don't have to worry about your data being used, et cetera, if you're worried about that sort of thing. Me and my own stack, I don't care. Have at it. But these are all private endpoints. But for vector embedding, they do have some additional models besides this one, and I can show you in future videos how to use that one. It is much faster. You will notice a slowdown in preview functionality and processing time when you start incorporating LLMs and models into your pipelines. This is just doing embeddings. It's going to be much faster, but you'll see later when we start doing some LLM blocks, it does slow down a bit. Nothing to worry about though. I would watch your spend, so you will be charged for the compute that you use, which does include your usage of these AI commercial models, and they're within Foundry. And I don't know how it compares to the pricing from OpenAI. I haven't checked that out yet. I will let you guys all know as I continue working in here, though, like what kind of pricing I'm getting, et cetera, et cetera. All right, just really quickly want to show you how to create a new media set, because we're going to upload Palantir's latest 10Q into it later. I just selected new media sets. I'm selecting that it's going to hold documents, but you can see here it can hold audio files, it can hold image files, hold this DICOM. I don't even know what format that is. Very interesting. I'm sure you guys will let me know in the comments. But yeah, so you can select the type of documents you're going to hold, or the type of media you're going to hold. Then you can actually specify additional formats here if you want to allow additional formats. And then you can select the type. Is it batch or is it streaming? There's some differences in how these are processed. You're only going to need batch 90% of the time. So I'm going to go ahead and just create that media set. What that's going to do is then give me a place where I can upload the 10Q, and I'm just going to say Palantir SEC filings. We can add more besides one document, but what I'm going to do, actually, let's cancel that. Let's just dump that in there. There we go. We're going to upload that. So all I'm doing here is just uploading this PDF. Again, look how easy this is, right? Palantir then in the background is processing this PDF for upload to the media set. I get a preview of it. I can open it if I want to check it out. Download it again. I can preview all the contents. As you can see, it's their latest 10Q for 2024. And the next thing we're going to do after this is build our own pipeline to process the pages in here. All right, so now we're going to attempt to just parse Foundry's SEC filing. So I'm going to go ahead and add that data set. I showed you guys a second ago that I created. Then I'm going to go ahead and create a new transform that is just going to do the same stuff we were doing before. I'm going to go ahead and convert media set to rows. I'm going to include, I don't care about the timestamp really. You might want a timestamp if you're regularly batch importing documents and you want to know which one is newer. So that is valuable. I don't care. So I'm just going to go ahead and dump that in there. Now I've got a format for the data set that's usable in the rest of my transform. All right, and then the next thing I'm going to do is the PDF text extraction. So we're just going to search for PDF text extraction. We're going to choose OCR. I don't know if it's text or not. I mean, I've never tried raw text on it. We'll do OCR. I'm going to go ahead and just grab the media reference, give it the start page, fail fast, yes, text, and then we're going to specify English. Should be my first language. Sometimes I wonder. All right, this finished processing, and you can see that I've got a blob of text for each page now. So this just went through and extracted all of the text in record time. That's fucking awesome. Let's go back to the graph. Let's do a new transform, and I think what we want to do, actually let's go back to the graph and see, let's do an LLM transform. This will probably be really cool for you guys. The preview should only execute against a small set of the pages. There is a lot of pages in this document. So let's do, should we do a sentiment analysis? That would be cool. So we can do any of these blocks. By the way, we can do custom ones too, which we'll use to extract structured data. So like if there's things like the financials, in fact, we'll try that later. But let's just do a summarization block, blah, blah, blah. Boring, I know, but we're just going to do it anyway. All right, so let's just do a, you are a helpful AI, do I want to be a financial analyst? What would be the right one? AI, let's just say research assistant, helping do financial due diligence on Palantir technologies. All right, and you know, English is my first language, but it doesn't mean I know how to spell it. We're going to go ahead and correct those spelling errors, even though you don't need to. Summarization size, I think we're going to do a good 4 sentences, maybe 5. And it is, I'm glad that they limit that, by the way, because these models are chatty as fuck, dude. They will go on forever. It's something that I think certain models are better at than others. Something we spend a lot of time fine-tuning on just to get these models just to respond with what we want. You're probably sick of me talking now, so let's just go and summarize this thing. This is the PDF OCR. That is what the column that contains the extracted text we created earlier for each page. We're going to go ahead and create that prompt. Yay, look at that. Beautiful. Pre-fills my prompt tag. When you do your custom prompts, this is what shows up. It's just pre-filling it for you in a very clean and good way. I'm going to go ahead and go back to graph. I'm going to go ahead and save that. And what's going on in the background now is this thing's actually running, and it is going to show you probably a warning here that it can't execute this against all pages in the preview mode. Thank God, I don't want it to. It would get extremely expensive, but we'll check back in as soon as this is done. All right, done. That actually, what's funny is it finished literally right after I cut the thing. So all right, here's our use LLM block. It's telling me what. Here's the summary on the quarterly. Great. Document contains financial information. Those are usually the boilerplate pages. Pretty cool. It's giving me a summary of some of the financial increases. Awesome. You've all seen this before. I'm not showing you anything new. I actually am going to break this down even further as we evolve this project. What we're going to do is we're going to do some really complicated extraction to power extracting the structured data so we can get it into a structured format. Then I'm going to show you how you can apply X-Reason on this in the semantic search application. It's going to blow your fucking mind on the kind of diligence you do. And then hoping I get Sam from Kurtos Capital to come on and we'll start showing us plugging in some models that he builds. Sam builds some really interesting models, so we'll evolve this project over time. All right, so next step, real quickly, we're just going to generate some embeddings, and I believe there's just an embeddings, text to embeddings block. By the way, I'm doing horrible best practice here. Whenever you create a pipeline, always name your transform block, always add a description so that people know what it does. For example, generate embeddings. I probably should never show you guys this stuff without following best practice. You're all going to do it wrong. Blame me. Just this block generates embeddings using text to. All right, this is just helpful so you let your coworkers know what the heck you're doing. It's also probably a good idea to add a description block when you're writing these things. This block, again, generates embeddings for the LLM output, which is a summary of each page in the 10 queue using text attitude. So please, please, please do your coworkers a favor. Write good description blocks in your pipelines, all that good stuff. Make sure you fill in the name, and it should be descriptive, and write the description, because that, I'll show you in a second, that shows up in the preview. It's really important to keep people sane. We're going to call this embeddings. I would never drop your text columns either. Once you get the embeddings, you're going to need them. So don't ever drop those text columns. We're generating the embeddings, and let's just hit apply. And then you'll see a preview of that. And now I can do the same semantic search on top of my embeddings as I can do on the preview sets that Palantir included in here. So as soon as this is done, what you'll have is a nice array of numbers that we can then use to power semantic search. And I'll show you how we're going to modify the default search functions to take in a data set to essentially let it toggle between do I want to search the Palantir 10 queue, or do I want to search, or it's really the Palantir SEC filings, or do I want to search the default data set? Cool. Just to show you, see how nice that is when you can see a preview of what this block does versus this like just blah, blah, blah. So always try and do your coworkers a favor, generate those things. The last thing I'm going to do here is just generate some output really quickly. You can just do that by hitting add output. What that's going to do, I like to add a new data set. So you can add ontology objects directly. Here's the problem in the past. I don't know if they fixed this, but in the past what would happen is I could never modify the ontology objects descriptions or basically anything else. Like Pipeline Builder was basically the owner of that ontology object, and I couldn't do anything with it. So I still always output new data sets. We'll get into time series syncs in a future episode. Really powerful stuff, dude. Like when you're doing time series analysis, Pipeline Builder's ability to make that process point and click and extremely easy is like, I'd rather do that than work in code. I mean, actually I take that back. I'd rather work in code, but like it's really easy and it's really close to being almost as productive as the code. It's not close, but close enough. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and just add this new data set. You give it any name you want. I'm going to call this SEC filings, and I'm just going to go ahead and capitalize. So I should have worn my glasses, guys. I can't see anything. And then we're going to go ahead and just save that. By the way, okay, other cool things you would always do in production. You want to configure expectations. So this allows you to determine like what should be a primary key, what should be a row count. That reminds me, we need to add a primary key. You have to add primary keys in Pipeline Builder. It's very important for the ontology layer. You can't create an ontology without an ontology object without a primary key. We'll go back and do that in a second. You can do row count assertions. You can check and make sure values are not null, that values are one of or row level. You can also row levels where you can add like greater than or less than, those kind of assertions. You can also configure the write mode, which is very important. A lot of times you might just want append only new rows. So make sure you check your write mode configuration. How cool is it though that you can get something as powerful as these features just in a point and click interface? Like you can imagine how much coding we've typically had to do this kind of stuff. But we're putting this in the hands of citizen engineers. So make sure you set your write modes. You can also configure the write format. You can choose the default, which is Parquet. Pretty much stick with the default unless you know what you're doing. So we're just going to leave that alone. And then you can configure markings. That's a complicated topic. We'll get into it. It's a security thing. It's really cool. So we've got our data set ready to go. What we're going to do now is deploy all. And what that's going to do is it's going to deploy all these tables, right? It's going to deploy the ones Palantir included, plus it's going to deploy mine. And so let's just go ahead and hit deploy all. You can also view changes, by the way. So like if you want to know like what has changed in a pipeline, you can see all of the change history, and you can see the new outputs that have been added. And if you're in a pull, and you can also do this in a diff mode, which is really cool. So like, and you can, by the way, Pipeline Builder does support branching and version control and all that great stuff. Again, and you can even test changes on your branch. So all of that is here. So you have your branch controls. You can create a new branch, and you can even issue a pull request to merge your changes. We didn't do that. We're working solo. In production, make sure you lock down main, which you can do. You can manage branches here and enable branch protection so that people can't commit directly to main. Force people to go through the pull request route. Always do that in production. SDLC and Foundry is no joke. And if you follow best practice, you won't blow yourself up. So we're going to go ahead and hit deploy. We're going to let that run. When we come back, I'll just show you, oh, it looks like I got to import some stuff. This happened to me. Oh, I got to add a reference to GPT-4. Yay, spend money, spend money, spend money. Never forget, Foundry keeps the GPUs warm of all of our favorite hyperscalers, including AWS, including Azure, all of the greats. So never, ever, ever worry. The hyperscalers are warm and cozy. We're going to let that run for a little while, and then we'll just take a look at the output as soon as it's done. All right, I got output. There's my table. I got my embeddings. I've got my summary block. These are horribly named columns, by the way. Please don't ever use these kind of names. We could have probably dropped some of these columns too. But yeah, there we go. We've got all of our embeddings ready to go. I've got every page of the 10Q ingested. Did it a little under 10 minutes. That's pretty awesome. The next steps in this series, what we're going to do is we're going to create an ontology object. This will be like next video. I'm going to do a whole bunch of these now that I have Stack access. You're just watch me build apps all the time, including financial due diligence apps with X reason. But basically, the next steps, we're going to create an ontology object, customize the semantic search functions that are in the default semantic search AIP app. Then we're going to customize the app a little bit. Then we're going to rip out all the default stuff. And at the end of this, you're going to see like it'll probably be at most maybe under an hour of actual development work that we do in these videos. In under an hour, you'll have a customized semantic search application on SEC filings. And what's great is you can add as many of them as you want. You can like add SoFi and add Rocket Lab and add whatever. And yes, I am thinking of ways to expose all of that to you with one of the world's best open source reasoning engines, XReason, which I'm also writing. So stay tuned. We're going to have a ton of fun. I'm so happy that we can finally showcase this product in its full glory. Big takeaways here too is that Foundry is a platform for everyone. You will see the hardcore engineering tools, I promise. But the most important thing is that our subject matter experts, our business owners, are empowered by a platform. And you saw, I didn't write any code here. Zero code, right? No code. And we were able to produce some really powerful work. And you can do it against any kind of document, right? Earlier today, I was extracting bill of materials and pulling up parts out of scopes of work for rebuilds on these gigantic machines. Like across a broad range of documents, all these tools work, and we're only scratching the surface here. So again, Palantir is a platform that empowers everyone. It does everything soup to nuts, from the raw data ingestion to the data processing to the integration of the LLMs to the building of the applications, deployment of the APIs, SDKs, you name it. It's a layer on top of the hyperscalers. Again, hyperscalers are happy. We're keeping their GPUs warm. We're keeping their CPUs warm. We're running all these workloads in AWS and Azure. It's a layer on top to make the business happy, so it's not so adversarial with IT. Again, under an hour. Do you know how long it would take a business to do this with normal tooling where software engineers have to be involved? Just the parsing of the PDFs. Yes, they're getting better. It's getting more cookie cutter across all platforms, but there's nothing like this on the market. And so it's really kind of shocking when you hear people kind of claim like, oh, Palantir is not an AI player. You're going to see so much embedded AI in this platform and how they've made it accessible to everyone and how they're very opinionated about how AI and humans work together. All that stuff, all those myths are going to be dispelled. So stay tuned. We've got a lot more coming on this app. I'm going to be cranking a lot of these videos. I hope you guys like this format because I love doing live programming and live coding. I can finally do it. So anyway, stay tuned and cheers, y'all.